The Earth's surface is dynamic in nature. Both endogenetic and exogenetic forces operates on the Earth's surface. The external processes are mostly operated by various geomorphic agents like river, glacier, wind, sea waves and underground water. These geomorphic agents are responsible for the creation of various erosional and depositional landforms. The question which arises here is that, is there any orderly development of these landforms? What is this cyclic landform development called as? What is the nature and characteristic of landscape under various stages? The answer to these questions can be very well presented by the model developed by Davis, which is called as cycle of erosion. We have already studied various landforms produced by the action of running water or river. In this session, we try to know about the cyclic evolution of river or fluvial landforms. The basic objectives are to understand the concept of cycle of erosion, to understand about the cyclic evolution of fluvial landforms, to know about the characteristic landscape in various stages of cycle of erosion. William Morris Davis, an American geomorphologist, presented general theory of landform development. Davis postulated his concept of geographical cycle, popularly known as cycle of erosion, in 1899. The basic idea of Davisian model of landform development was to provide systematic explanation and description of landforms. The main objective of Davisian model is to provide general theory of landform development. The cycle of erosion set by the running water is known as normal cycle of erosion because of the fact that fluvial processes are most widespread or covers most of the parts of the world. Davis considered running water to be the most universal process and initially based the concept of cycle on fluvial erosion. Definition of cycle of erosion. The term cycle of erosion is defined as the amount of time required for the uplifted landmass to get transformed into a plane surface or reduced to base level. The time period is not specific and it varies from one region to another region. Assumptions. The main assumption of the Davisian model of cycle of erosion are: landforms are the product of interaction of endogenetic, that is diastrophic forces, and exogenetic, that is external forces. The evolution of landform takes place in a sequential manner. There is a short period of rapid rate of upliftment of landmass. Erosion does not start until the upliftment is complete. In other words, upliftment and erosion do not proceed simultaneously. Davisian trio. According to Davis, in the development of landforms of a place, three controls play important roles. These three controls are structure, process, stage, that is time factor. Structure. The term structure means the geological structure, which includes folds, faults, physical and chemical properties of the rocks, their permeability, joints, bedding planes, etc. Process plays a significant role in the evolution of landforms. The agents of external processes are running water, glaciers, wind, sea waves and underground water. These agents erode the uplifted land, transport the eroded material and deposit elsewhere, and in the process evolve a variety of landforms. The processes which operated and the resultant landforms evolved by these geomorphic agents are known by different names. The processes operated by running water is called as fluvial process, underground water as karst process, sea waves as shoreline or marine process, wind as aeolian process, and glacial process. Stage. Davis incorporated the time factor in the evolution of landforms. According to Davis, every landscape will pass through an initial stage to a sequential stage to an ultimate stage. These stages are called as youth, maturity, and old stage. The cycle of erosion by fluvial processes, that is running water or the river, is called as normal cycle of erosion, because of the fact that fluvial processes are most widespread, covering most part of the globe, and almost significant geomorphic agent. The normal cycle of erosion begins with an upliftment of any landmass with the reference to the sea level. As the landmass rises, the rivers are originated and their erosion work starts. The whole land area, once uplifted, progressively passes through 3 successive stages of youth, mature, and old, and is ultimately transformed into low featureless surface. W.M. Davis has divided the whole duration of normal cycle of erosion into 3 successive stages of youth, that is juvenile, mature, that is the stage of equilibrium, and old, that is penultimate or senile stage. In the opinion of Davis, every landscape has a definite geological history. Each stage is associated with distinctive landscape or landforms, with the help of which it is possible to identify the stage of the evolution of the landscape. There is a direct relationship between the stage of the development and the character of the landforms. The duration of these stages do not have equal lifespan. Normally, the river undertakes the work of erosion, deposition, and transportation. During each stage, one of these works is dominant in nature. The main erosional and depositional processes and the resultant landforms of the youth, mature, and old stage have been given briefly as under. Youthful stage. Youthful stage is the initial stage of the river. It is the first stage during which river flows through the mountainous region. The major work undertaken by the river is erosion. The erosional work of the river depends on the channel gradient, volume of water, and velocity. During the youthful stage of the river, erosion is maximum because rivers will have steep channel gradient since it flows through the mountainous areas. Steep channel gradient increases the velocity and kinetic energy of the river flow. As the river flows at an elevated height, it has highest velocity, but as it is in the initial stage, the volume of water is less. Thus, erosion is mostly concentrated within the bed of the river, which is called as vertical erosion or down cutting. This process is called as valley deepening. The erosion starts after the completion of the upliftment of landmass. The top surfaces or the summit of the water divides are not affected by erosion because the rivers are small and widely spaced. Small rivers and short tributaries are engaged in the headward erosion, due to which they extend their lengths. This process is called as stream lengthening. In the nutshell, the youthful stage is characterized by certain characteristic features, as there will be few consequent trunk streams but few large tributaries. Numerous short tributaries will be extending themselves by headward erosion and developing valley system. Transporting capacity is maximum due to the high velocity flow and kinetic energy due to steep channel gradient. Valleys will be V-shaped cross profiles and will be shallow and deep depending on the height of the region above the sea level. There will be general lack of floodplain development except along the trunk streams, and valley sides will rise from near the stream edges. Interstream tracts may be extensive and poorly drained. Lakes and swamps may exist in the interstream areas if these areas are not well above the base level. Waterfalls, cataracts and rapids may exist where the stream courses cross bed, particularly of resistant rock. Valleys are V-shaped, characterized by convex valley side slopes. The overall valley form is gorge or canyon. Stream meandering may exist in the youthful stage. The duration of youth stage is comparatively short. The erosional landforms that are formed during the youthful stage of the river are V-shaped valleys, gorges, canyons, waterfalls, rapids, interlocking spurs, alluvial terraces, structural benches, river capture, etc. Maturity stage. The early maturity stage is heralded by marked lateral erosion and well integrated drainage network. Most of the tributaries attain graded condition. The summits of the water divide are also eroded. Absolute as well as relative relief both decreases. The lateral erosion leads to valley widening, which transforms the V-shaped valley of the youthful stage into wide valleys. Marked reduction in the valley deepening is because of substantial decrease in the channel gradient, flow velocity and transporting capacity of the river. The general characteristic of landscape developed during the maturity stage is described as valleys have extended themselves so that the region now has well integrated drainage system. A fully developed drainage system is established. Vertical erosion or valley deepening is remarkably reduced. Stream divides will be sharp edges resulting in minimum of interstream uplands. Lateral erosion leads to valley widening. Lakes and waterfalls that existed in the youthful stage have been eliminated. Floodplain tracts constitute a considerable portion of the valley floor. The width of the valley floors does not greatly exceeds the width of the meandering belts. Maximum possible relief exists during this stage. The topography consists not so much of valley bottoms and upland tracts as it does of slopes or valley sides and hillsides. The duration of mature stage is longer to that of the youth stage, but shorter to that of the old stage. Shifting of river channels over the floodplains is very conspicuous. Broad flat valleys are seen due to valley widening. The river attains the profile of equilibrium and the presence of graded rivers. Meanders, point bars, oxbow lakes, natural levees, deferred junctions and yazoo rivers generally are common. Old stage. The old stage is characterized by almost total absence of valley deepening, but lateral erosion and valley widening is still active process. Near absence of valley deepening is due to extremely low channel gradient and remarkably reduced kinetic energy. The valley becomes almost flat with concave valley side slopes. The old stage is associated with extensive floodplains, well-developed meanders, and extensive undulating plain of extremely rolled relief. The characteristic of the landscape during the old stage are the tributaries to the trunk streams are usually fewer in number than in the maturity, but more numerous than in the youthful stage. The overall decrease in the number of tributaries, further decrease in the river channel gradient, transpose capacity is minimum, and thus the river becomes overloaded and deposition becomes active in this stage. Minimum energy, both potential as well as kinetic energy. Almost total absence of valley deepening or downcutting by the river. Lateral erosion and valley widening, however, may continue. Valleys are extremely broad and generally very gently sloping. There is a marked development of floodplains over which streams flow in broadly meandering courses. Interstream areas have been reduced in height and stream divides are not as sharp as in case of maturity stage. Lakes, marshes and swamps may be present, but they are on the floodplains and not on the interstream areas or tracts as in case of youthful stage. Highly meandering courses of the river, shifting or migration of the river is generally common. Sluggish flow of the river. The main river is split into many channels, that is braiding, and distributaries forming deltas. The duration of the old stage is much longer to that of the combined duration of youth and maturity stages. Extensive areas are at or near the base level of erosion. Most of the areas will be in the form of extensive undulating plain of very low relief, resulting in the formation of peneplain with small isolated conical hills in the form of monadnocks, monocyclic landforms. According to Davis, every landscape has historical evolution during which it passes through youthful, maturity and old stage. The landscape which passes through all these three stages, that is youthful, maturity and old stage, is called as monocyclic landforms. The completion of one cycle of erosion requires crustal stability, which is rarely attained. That means monocyclic landforms are not very common in nature. The geographical cycle of erosion is the first scientific model explaining the evolution of landforms. It is a very simple and applicable model of landform development. It is the pioneer general theory of landform development. The model is based on extensive and in-depth field observations. The model synthesizes the current geomorphological concepts like base level, graded stream and profile of equilibrium. The model helps in describing, explaining, analyzing and simplifying the evolution of landforms. Reliable predictions about the evolution of the landforms can be made with this model. It is an analogous model in which landforms have been considered as living organisms. The model is capable of both predictive and historical interpretation of landform evolution. The concept of geographical cycle of Davis has been criticized on more than one count by geomorphologists. The main criticism of Davis model are Davis' assumption about the rapid upliftment of the landmass is not acceptable. He has described the rapid rate of upliftment of short duration, which is not the practical case in view of the geomorphologist. The processes of upliftment and erosion as postulated by Davis are erroneous. He is of the opinion that erosion does not start unless upliftment is complete. These processes in reality are not independent. Erosion process will not wait till the upliftment of the landmass is over. Davis' assumption of crustal stability is challenged as stability of the Earth's crust is not possible. Despite this limitation, Davis' model of geographical cycle of erosion is a pioneer concept and has been adopted by most of the contemporary geomorphologists all over the world. The entire geomorphic thought has been influenced by the concept of cycle of erosion as given by Davis. The concept of geographical cycle of erosion as advocated by Davis is related to the cyclic evolution of landforms. According to Davis, development of landforms in a particular region is controlled by three major factors, which are structure, process and stage. These three controls are called as Davisian trio. Davis presented the concept of cyclic and orderly development of the landforms, in which every landscape passes through youth, mature and old stage. During each stage, characteristic assemblage of landforms are evolved in the normal cycle of erosion or the fluvial cycle of erosion. In the youthful stage, the river is very active in the process of vertical erosion and produces various erosional landforms like V-shaped valleys, waterfall, plunge pools, interlocking spurs, etc. In the maturity stage of the fluvial cycle of erosion, the landforms developed is the product of erosion and deposition. That is, the river attains the profile of equilibrium and most of the streams are graded. In the maturity stage, the erosion is mostly in the form of lateral erosion, which is responsible for valley widening. The maturity stage is characterized by extensive floodplains, river meanders, etc. The old stage in the fluvial cycle of erosion is characterized by extensive featureless plains called as peneplains. The landscape which completes one cycle of erosion is called as monocyclic landforms. In the next session, we will try to understand the concept of multicyclic landforms.